Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Kamramaya Ki Yamunamaya Ki Vasudeva Ki Bhaktideva Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinda Ki Lord Chaitanya Harinama Sankirtanam Ki Lakmadanga Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi Mantarashna Bhagavatam Ki Jai Vastu Santa Vastu Shri Shri Guru Garanga Vastu Om Shri Radha Krishna Krishna Gopinath Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurava Hare Krishna. How many of you are going on book distribution today? Most of us. You brothers. Spiritual brothers. You have a lot in common. And Shauna has come all the way from St. Louis. You came this morning or last night? Where did you stay? In Atlanta, at the ISKCON Atlanta temple. Oh wow! You also came. You brought her over. How did you get here?
I live here with Maharaj.
Huh?
I live here.
You were there.
I live here.
You were there.
She lives here.
Yeah, you live here, but I'm saying, how did you come over?
Oh, I drove here, Maharaj.
All the way from St. Louis?
Yes.
How far is it?
It's like 10 hours drive.
10-hour drive. My God, you drove all the way here. You were so sincere. And you, two of you came together.
She's from China, Maharaj.
Pardon?
She's from China. I just met her. She serves at the ISKCON Atlanta.
And so you came alone?
Yeah.
Your husband didn't come? No? Wow. Hare Krishna. 10 hours drive. That's quite something. St. Louis. You've been there?
Yes.
Sankirtan. The old Sankirtan devotees here in this temple. Book distributors. Some of them have already left. 3 or 4 of them left this morning for book distribution. Maharati left, right?
2 left yesterday.
Huh?
2 left yesterday.
Yeah, 3 left yesterday. 2 or 3? 2. 2 left to go to Kentucky or somewhere yesterday and to deliver the chickens in Kentucky. And 3 of them have gone to the Tamil temple this morning, early morning, big festival, Diwali festival today. And Maharati went, right? The Maharatis went. Mahotsaha, the world's top book distributor, headed off at 6:30 this morning. And they'll be back about 11, I suppose, huh? Something like that, yeah. Target today?
Thousands.
I think 2,000, isn't it?
2,000.
2,000 books today. Huh?
3,000 in total.
2 to 3.
2 to 3, maybe.
2 to 3,000 books today. That's his target. See what Krishna arranges.
Can you bless us?
Huh?
Can you bless us, Maharaj?
What can I say? A blessing, what can I say, Prabhupada? We can pray to Prabhupada, who is qualified to bless us all. He's already blessed us all. We just have to hold on to it firmly and never let go. His blessings are eternal, unlimited, ever expanding. We just have to hold on tight to them. That's all. What are we? We can just try to inspire each other to take those blessings. They have no power as such. Just good wishes, we can say. I know it's our business. Certainly that's there. But we also know from life, whatever little lifetime we've had in this miserable body, we also know that, blessings come in unusual ways sometimes. They don't always come in, the way we plan them. Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead. And let's bring this table a little closer. Right? It's hard enough to read from that far away. Even close is difficult. Well, we were reading a purport yesterday.
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the wrong verse. What verse are we on? It's verse 30 here. It's not the verse we're on. Maybe here, the marker. Huh? Is this it? Here, 4, number 4. 3, 5, 4. 3, 5, 4. And we read a little bit of the purport yesterday, but we didn't finish it, if I'm not mistaken. Where did we get to? Does anyone remember?
We finished this quote that Srila Prabhupada has from the Bhagavad Gita. So there, I think we finished that off.
Yeah, we finished that paragraph.
Jnanis, yogis, and karmis.
Pardon?
Jnanis, yogis, and karmis.
Okay, let's start there. Even if we did read, I don't think we did, you're right. Let's see what I have to do this just to hold the book. I can't hold it in my hands for so long. The Gyanis. Well, let's read the verse. Let's chant the verse together. Tat sadhu vatyadi shavatma sangyana Sangradito bhagavan yena pungsam Vidisito yachati bhakti pute Jnanam satatvadigamam puranam Tat sadhu vayadi shavatma shangna Sangradito bhagavan yena pungsam Virisito yachati bhakti pute Jnanam satatvadigamam puranam. Oh, marvelous. Shanti, anyone want to chant? Sangradito bhagavan yena pungsam Vidisito yachati bhakti pute
Samradito bhagavan yena pumsam
Radito bhagavan yena pungsam
Pridistito yachati bhakti pute Jnanam satatvadhigamam puranam
Go for it.
Tat sadhu varya dishavartma samnaha
Tadadyatmati vatmamamma
Samradito bhagavan yena pumsam
Sangradito bhagavan yena pungsam
Pridistito yachati bhakti pute Jnanam satatvadigamam puranam
Ladies, Shanti. Shanti. Tasadivaya dishavatma sangha Sangradito bhagavan yena pungsam Etayo yati bhakti bhute Nam satatvadigamam puranam Yena pungsam Isyo bhakti bhakti pate Jnanam satatvadigamam puranam. I won't read the word for word because you got to go on Sankirtan today. So we're going to move things forward here. Translation. Therefore, this is Vidura speaking to Maitreya. Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord. so that he who is situated in the heart of every one can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles delivered only by those who are purified by the process of devotional service. Only to those purified by the process. So that we were discussing a little bit yesterday. And we'll start in the second paragraph of the purport, the Gyanis. The Gyanis, Yogis and Karmis cannot expect this direct cooperation of the Lord. They are not able to satisfy the Lord by transcendental loving service, nor do they believe in such service to the Lord. The bhakti process, as performed under the regulated principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, or devotional service, following the prescribed rules and regulations, is defined by the revealed scriptures and confirmed by great acharyas. This practice can help the neophyte devotee to rise to the stage of Raga Bhakti, in which the Lord responds from within as the Chaitya Guru, or the spiritual master as a super consciousness. All transcendentalists other than devotees make no distinction between the individual soul and the super soul, because they, let's read that again. All transcendentalists other than devotees make no distinction between the individual soul and the super soul, because they miscalculate the super consciousness and the individual consciousness to be one and the same. Such miscalculation by the non-devotees makes them unfit to receive any direction from within, and therefore they are bereft of the direct cooperation of the Lord. After many, many births, when such a non-dualist comes to sense that the Lord is worshipable, and that the devotee is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, then only can he render unto the Lord service. Only then can he surrender, unto the Lord, Vasudeva. Pure devotional service begins from that point. The process of understanding the absolute truth, adopted by the misguided non-dualist, is very difficult. Whereas the devotee's way of understanding the absolute truth comes directly from the Lord, who is pleased by devotional service. On behalf of many neophyte devotees, Vidura, at the very first instance, inquired from Maitreya about the path of devotional service by which the Lord, who is seated within the heart, can be pleased. Amazing verse and purport by Srila Prabhupada. How merciful Vidura is to inquire on our behalf, and Prabhupada to clarify for her own covered intelligence and consciousness to clarify the exact application of this, or the practical application of these words of Vidura. Now, if someone would kindly bring a Bhagavad Gita, if there's one near, that would be nice. And we'll just briefly, we don't want to keep, oh, that's a lovely version. Is it English?
Yes, Maharaj.
Oh, it's that deluxe version. Deluxe version. So, in this purport, what we've read today, that is, not yesterday, but what verses from Bhagavad Gita would you see Prabhupada referring to here? Although I don't think they're directly mentioned. Pardon? Which was, say again? No, from Bhagavad Gita. You've risen to the higher platform of Srimad Bhagavatam. Stick to Bhagavad Gita today, what we just read, not what we read yesterday. That was in yesterday's verse. Yes.
I cannot quote the exact verse, but when Arjuna is asking Krishna which one of the transcendentalists is better.
Which one of the? Arjuna is asking Krishna. Again, continue. You're on the right path, I believe.
Which one of the transcendentalists is better?
Okay, let's go there. That's in the 12th chapter. Where it's the very beginning of the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If you have your Bhagavad Gitas, you can read this. Which chapter is devotional service? Who knows before you get it out? Which chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is devotional service? Chapter called devotional service. Which chapter number? 12. Well done. So chapter 12, text number 1. We'll just read the first 3 or 4 verses from there. It's so good to hear these, let's say, connections. Where the whole purpose of Krishna consciousness is to connect with Krishna, to reconnect with Krishna. So when we connect with the spiritual master, he gives us the path by which we can reconnect with Krishna. When Krishna sees that through following that path that our hearts are becoming purified, he cleanses the heart, of course, as we dedicate ourselves to the path given by the pure devotees, the external manifestation of the Supersoul in the form of spiritual master, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. They're external manifestations of the Supersoul at this stage. And then when one comes to that stage, and of course not everyone comes to it, Prabhupada said in this purport, Jnanis, Karmis, Yogis, they don't come to this stage of Ragamarg. They're stuck in their own path, whatever that may be, which leads to a different destination. The path, at least the path given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the path which we're talked about here a little bit, is to our eternal constitutional position. I was hearing Prabhupada saying that this morning in a lecture. He was just saying that this automatically from within, this is revealed by the Lord. It's not something you kind of like, concoct and try to artificially implement a certain type of behavior with the idea of awakening that particular relationship with Krishna. It doesn't work like that. It's the Lord within the heart reveals it. When the heart, when we're sincerely following his instructions, his pure devotees, and the instructions they give us, then the Lord gives that inspiration within. Then it's confirmed with the spiritual master. It's not actually that the spiritual master necessarily tells you like that. He confirms it, or otherwise. And then the direction, both the inspiration within the Lord and at that stage when raga awake. Raga means spontaneous attraction to relationship with Krishna and a particular spirit of devotion. Right now there's a reflection of that raga or an element of that raga. Some devotees are intensely attached to cooking or just doing books or driving 10 hours in a car all the way from St. Louis. You like driving or something? God, I can't imagine driving 10 hours. But anyway, some people love to drive. It's not exactly a kind of like, what's your service in the spiritual world, driving a car or something. But you can be a carrier of Krishna. There's different things. You have a nice palanquin or some beautiful arrangements there. But that's on another level. But on that level, we're attracted to certain things. Maybe you like managing. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But some people do. Some devotees do. Some devotees like technical things. I see some of you are expert here at technical stuff, computers and what have you, and I don't know, you're the one. You're the master of the affairs. I saw many of you young men are bright in this area. Some are good in music and art and whatever, or any kind of thing. We have a kind of a natural attraction for it, but it's only temporary. It's a kind of reflection, but maybe in this lifetime or some lifetimes, but it's not necessarily indicative of a permanent sthayi bhav or eternal relationship with Krishna, not necessarily. But the principle we can learn from, that is probably most of us when we were kids, we had certain things which we were really into. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but you may have been into, some kids are really into boys, particularly into sport. Maybe girls are into, I don't know, dressing dollies or something. I don't know what girls do. I think they do things like that. Because later on you're going to be, with babies, and you're going to be dressing babies and things like that, Dressing your own bodies as well, of course. But men are not so much into that, usually. Yeah, isn't it? They're more into kind of like macho things, hard, heavy sports and fighting and, wild things. I wasn't so much, I guess I was into sport, but when I was a kid, maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, I was already designing cities, towns, town planning. I had no idea why. It just spontaneously, I was attracted to do it. And I studied it later on in my life, only up to a certain point, and then gave it up for another plan. But it's there. It's like some attraction we have, and you kind of automatically have an inclination towards things related to that. In this lifetime, karma. Karma. It's a reflection, perverted reflection, to show that there's an element of that natural raga. It's not just about, check it all out and see what happens, but everyone has a certain raga, whatever it may be, conditional. And that's there spiritually also. And that will be, when the heart becomes purified of all other ideas of trying to experience raga separately from Krishna, mundane rasa, material rasa. As long as we have an affection or an attraction for material rasa, which trying to get the taste out of those objects in this world, then we cannot actually experience spiritual rasa. We can hear about it, let's go talk about it maybe, and maybe imagine that that's my rasa, but a relationship. But it's not real. It's not a permanent state. It's just a dream due to the false ego. So when we're completely purified of these, it's nice to aspire for that, but we shouldn't dream that we've got it. Some devotees gallivant. You heard that word, gallivant? You ever heard that word before, gallivant? It's an old English word. I don't know where it came. I haven't used it in at least a decade or more. Just suddenly shot out. Gallivant. It's kind of like you're going to gallop off with a preconception of what you're going to get. Or something. You gallivant off to Radhakund or somewhere, expecting there you're going to realize your eternal constitution, relationship with Krishna, right? Everything's going to be revealed there just by Dandavat Prikrama of Radhakund, and wearing Radhakund tilak and dressing like a Radhakund Babaji, and and thinking of sex life. It doesn't work like that. There's a little bit more to it than that. Anyway, we talked about that the other night a little bit from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's, let's say, words on that idea. So let's get back down to earth, where we're really at. So the process. So let's see what Krishna says, how this works a little bit. This is the first verse of the 12th chapter. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be most perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship? Oh my goodness. Haribol! Hare Krishna! Oh, I'm so blessed. Blessed by the best, as Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj used to say. And our best has come. Haribol Sikhi Mahiti Prabhu, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Why you've come all the way over? Nothing better to do? Nothing better to do? Half the devotees have already left for Sankirtan. They left at 6:30 this morning. Mahotsa and others left early this morning. And some left yesterday afternoon to go somewhere else. God. Are you ready for a Sankirtan today? Whew. On a wheelchair, yeah. Somehow or another. With the knees. You have to do the needy. You have to do the needy. So thank you so much for coming over, Prabhuji. So wonderful to see you again. Huh?
Thank you for coming. Everybody's in Vrindavan for Kartik.
I know, isn't it amazing? This is real Vrindavan. This is really Vrindavan, to be absorbed. We were hearing the other day what Radhakund really means. Bhaktisiddhanta's describing Radhakund means unalloyed service, absorption in service, spreading Krishna consciousness. That's Vrindavan. We never used to do that. And during Prabhupada's time, there was not really anything for Kartik. You remember that? Nobody went to India for Kartik. We used to offer lamps, but we would do it in the temple we're in. We never thought about going to India at that time. Mayapur was the time everyone went, and Gaurapanim time. Huh? That was what Prabhupada said and did. He was in Kartik. Oftentimes Prabhupada would be in Vrindavan during that period of time. But generally speaking, devotees didn't, especially because the Christmas marathon was coming up very soon. Now we have like seminars in the middle of the Christmas marathon all over the place. If you tried to do that in the 70s, you'd be told, get lost, get out of here. Are you mad? Are you crazy? It's a Prabhupada book marathon, Crazy. I mean, I know, it's nothing. I mean, it's good, but it's not what we used to do, you could say. And when Prabhupada would come, I don't know what it was like. Which temple were you in during Prabhupada's time? Chicago, yeah. Chicago, I don't know if you have the same experience, but whenever Prabhupada would come to London, at least in the latter few years, we weren't really doing book distribution in the early 70s much. It was small time. But the last few years, 76, 77, when Prabhupada came to London, the rule of the day was double book distribution while he was there. Not that everyone hung around all day, trying to get an orange peel or something from Prabhupada's plate, Maybe he'll say something. Maybe he'll come out and I can see him. You can't see him.
Even Prabhupada's in the airport in Chicago, and the book distributors, they didn't stop, they just kept distributing books.
They just stayed there and distributed books, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
They
hey, our
just-
spiritual master, Dwight wrote that he's just coming here, so you need to get one now,
Yeah. Even in 77, on Prabhupada's last visit to London, he came to the West the last time in August 77, and he was planning to come to the States, but he didn't come. He just came to London and went back to India. And hundreds of devotees came, but we doubled book distribution that week or two he was there. That was our service to Prabhupada. That's what we thought. We're only here to please Prabhupada. We're not here to just hang around. We're here to please him, And the ones were going out, as soon as class was over, bang, they were out the door, going, like anything to try to distribute Prabhupada's books to bring him pleasure. And some devotees thought that Prabhupada wouldn't be tired, and too much for him to hear the Sankirtan results. And some of his inner crew was saying, Prabhupada, it's too much. I mean, they're giving us these scores, but it's, not to read it out to you. Prabhupada said, this is what is giving me life. This is where I'm getting my energy from. He wanted to hear the daily scores. He was so happy to hear the book scores every morning. They would be read to Prabhupada in his room. And, he was so pleased to see the spirit of the devotees to distribute his books. And although other things are important, and many other services have grown, developed, and have a long way to go, but book distribution is the foundation of our mission, and it's always there. It's not that that's changed. Maybe different techniques have been employed and so on and so forth, but the principle is eternal principle. Whatever way it is, this knowledge has to be distributed. And although, people are into computers and Kindles and mobile phones, and, a lot of people are like that, but you can still see, it's just incredible to see. I was looking at a video of Mahotsa. He sent me this video last night of one lady, and I don't know where it was. It looked like it was some exhibition of some kind, and she was going wild. I don't know if she was like shaking like a pneumatic drill, It was going like this, looking at the Bhagavatam. We didn't know what was coming next, It looked like she was having a breakdown, a nervous breakdown of some kind, And she ended up taking the whole set of the Bhagavatams and the CC as well. And, $550 she gave. And she was like shaking and like something like this, Incredible what can be arranged, all over the world. And, still the book, there's nothing compared to the books, all the technology put together. It's not quite the same as having the book in your hand. Let's read on. So Arjuna said, which is considered to be the most perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Well, this is basically what's being discussed here in the purport, which we just read, isn't it? We don't have time to read the purport because of that verse, because the devotees are going out shortly on book, about 20 of them, about one staying back, I think, me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. We saw yesterday the perfect church. We were on the way to Harinam. Whoever was in the car, there was one church we passed. Big sign, the perfect church. They would claim to be the perfect church. Well, we all know from, if we've read anything a little bit more, yes, you may call it the perfect church, okay, but there's a more perfect one, and there's a most perfect one. And Krishna consciousness is the most perfect, so give them some credit there. The most perfect church. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, if you want to, you can worship. I'm going to have to turn around. My neck's giving me hell on earth. Can you move that forward a little bit so I can move my legs around? I'm twisted. That's it. I'm going to have to hold this book. If you want to give it a go, here you are. If you want to worship the unmanifested, Sikh is nodding his head there. We've had a go at it, perhaps. That which lies beyond the perception of the senses. This sounds very attractive, very esoteric, very mystical. The all-pervading, yes, me. Inconceivable, unchanging, fixed, and immovable. Whoa, that sounds really far out. That's for me. The impersonal, yes, the impersonal. Conception of the absolute truth. No more nasty relationships with people. Right? Hustling me. Giving me a hard time. I can merge into the all-pervading Brahman and eternally feel peace, harmony, Brahmananda, bliss, a Brahmajyoti, nectar. Tell me about it, man. How do I do it? By controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone. Such persons, engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me. What's that mean? You? What's that mean? Achieve you. What's the other verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says something similar? Bahunam jamane ante jnanavam abhajyate. Yes. It is not very easy to attain that, is it? Especially those who try to do it by their own, endeavor. Pretty tough, But after many, many lifetimes, and Prabhupada referred to that verse in the purport, after many lifetimes they may also come to him. They may not also. That depends. Only by the grace of a pure devotee is this possible. No matter what we are, karmi, jnani, yogi, or something else. By the mercy of meeting on and accepting that of a pure devotee. Only then can we begin this real path. Of course, there's different levels as we've heard of the path, and we hear in the 18th chapter an interesting verse. Every verse is interesting, but there's two verses in the 18th chapter, one on one. And one talks about how only by devotional service. Do you know that verse? That you can understand me, Krishna says? Which is basically what this verse is also discussing. Only by pure devotional service can you understand me as I am. Huh? And what is that verse? Bhaktya? Every verse you say, what's that verse? Very good, perfect. Learn the verses. I was reading yesterday, Prabhupada was saying how important it is to chant these verses. And not just the English, but the Sanskrit too, the vibration. We should chant. He said, you chant the verses. I spent so much time writing this. Well, what's the point otherwise? Just write it in English. What's the point? How many scholars are being convinced anyway? Some people are put off when they see all these funny letters and dashes and dots and so on. But it's important for our own realization and purification, and we generally miss it all. Bhakti mama abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvata. Tomam Gatvato. Even I'm forgetting, getting an old man here. But learn these verses while you're young. Difficult to learn when you're old, isn't it, Ziki? To learn a verse when you're 75 years old or 80 years old is not so easy. Huh? If we can just somehow or another remember the Hare Krishna mantra, that's our only hope sometimes. You start to wonder, am I going to forget the Maha mantra as well, you know? It's like ridiculous, it's crazy. Gyatva mam shantim chiti, maybe, is that the verse? Anyway, after many, many births, and Krishna is very hard to be. Why? Because it's only when he desires, when he's pleased, when he's satisfied, he reveals himself. You can't make him reveal himself. Show me God. You ever had that on Sankirtan? You ever had people say that? You say God exists, then show me. Where is he? Little Hiranyakashipu there, isn't it? I don't believe in something. My mother, when she said to me, I asked her one time, does God exist? She said, no, of course not. Otherwise I'd see him, she said. I never see him. Amazing how ordinary people, they have that little Hiranyakashipu nature, isn't it? Unless I can see, I don't believe. And if I do, I'll kill him. Get him out the way. Like the Mayavadis, huh? Get him out the way. Use him as long as you can, then kick him out the window, kick him out the door. Get out of here. I'm God now. You get lost. It's only when one's fortunate, the most fortunate. The great fortune is the opportunity to meet the pure devotees of the Lord. Huh? Oh, they come out of their causeless mercy and sacrifice their lives trying to wake us up. We do everything we can to stay asleep. Hold on to our garbage. Stay in our dreamlike world, even on the spiritual path, dreaming about who we are or what we're going to be and this and that, all kinds of nonsense. But they try to wake us up, and they never stop. They're the oceans of compassion, always trying to wake us up. So, and when we actually cotton on to what they're giving us and hold on to it tightly, then we can make some progress. By holding on, perhaps I just hold on to my dhoti. So we just hold on to their instructions, follow their path, follow that path. And that path leads to the Lord in the heart, then giving, clearing our heart, first of all, and then giving direction towards what's next. And maybe we've got different natural tendencies, but he reveals that to us within the heart. We haven't realized the objective yet, but we've realized the attraction towards it. Now, natural inclination will start to evolve. The path of raga will start to evolve, as this verse says, or the purport says. So that's another verse. Now let's read the next one. There's two verses. And the other verse, which we haven't mentioned, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. You know that one? Next to Bhakti-mama Vijayanti. It's a very famous verse, isn't it? Brahmabhuta Prasanatma Nasochati, you know? This one you seem to know pretty well. They're all mostly young devotees here. They've already been in the movement a few years, you know. They're all new boys. I was telling them yesterday, you've been in the movement 2 years, why haven't you opened a temple already? Another one. You remember, I don't know when you joined, but when I joined, the day I got shaved up, the devotee was shaving me, Sambhanath Prabhu. He said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Swindon. He said, oh, fantastic. We don't have a temple there yet. Maybe after a couple of weeks you can go there and open a temple. That's what he said to me. I thought, wow, this is far out, you know. Couple of weeks, you know. Now after, 20 years, you never even dream about it mostly. There's no spirit of pioneering spirit's almost disappeared. You remember those days? Oh, a little bit after that whip. That was 71, 72. In England, we were like 2 years behind the States, so that was like 69 mood, Open a temple every day, go somewhere. Just open it, and you may close it the next week and go somewhere else and do the same thing. But that was the spirit, It was like crazy,
No money either.
Huh?
No money, you just open it.
Nobody?
No money, you just open the temple.
Just open it, never mind. Depend on Krishna. No money, by the way. Where am I going to stay? You'll find out when you get there. Don't ask me. You just go there and start. Krishna will provide. And if you have that experience, we had that experience a few times of doing that. Just going to a place not knowing anybody there, having no money whatsoever, alone, not with anyone else, and just having to look around and somehow or other things happen. There's a bridge you can sleep under. The most used to do that. They used to sleep. I didn't get that. I didn't have that one. I was lucky or unlucky. But in Paris, for weeks, they were sleeping under bridges when they first went to Paris. They couldn't speak a word of French. Sleeping under bridges. They had no money. They were just every day begging for some bread and some... They didn't take wine, although in most people would give you a bottle of wine if you begged for it, in France. Bread, cheese, whatever they could get, to survive, basically. And one by one, Krishna revealed everything. And that type of spirit, that's how you really get the mercy. Huh? You really feel the mercy of Lord Nityananda. You really feel the mercy. The Srila Prabhupada didn't do much different when he went to the States, did he? We sang Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma last night and talked about it. But when Prabhupada went to the States, that was basically, he didn't know anyone in the States. He had no money. He knew what was going to unfold. He went to New York. He had an address of Dr. Mishra. And that was about it. Who was a Mayavadi. Wouldn't let Prabhupada speak. Let him lead kirtan. But, Prabhupada had no con, just completely alone. Totally alone. He wasn't like he was sent by his Gurudev, but it wasn't like, someone says, go and open a center in, some place or another, wherever it is. But there's another, you can always go back to your, home base. But Prabhupada didn't really, he had Vrindavan, but that wasn't really like the same thing, That meant he was determined to fulfill his spiritual master's instruction and take Vrindavan everywhere, even as far afield as Atlanta, this far distant corner of the world. He said that in Gainesville, this far distant corner of the world. Huh? Who can imagine in Atlanta? They call it the Bible Belt, is that right, down here? That Krishna consciousness, that in one day, maybe not in Atlanta, but today, maybe, of course a lot of Indian people, but 3,000 books. Mahotsa's target today is 3,000 books in one day. That's unimaginable, even in those days. I remember the first day I went out on book distribution. I told this a few weeks ago in another place, but I'm going to go on this verse again tomorrow. We don't have time. This is too sweet. And I've got all these little quotes which I wanted to share. We don't have time to share them. Tomorrow. Are you going to be here tomorrow? Anyone going to be here tomorrow? Somebody's going to be here? So we'll try to share them tomorrow morning. That'll be it. Because there's no class tonight. They're all staying out till midnight tonight. Midnight? Not midnight. No, not quite. Late anyway. Out till late. So I remember the first day I went out. The next morning, I shaved up on Saturday night. Sunday morning, they sent me out door to door with another new back to Paul. They sent us to a place called Earl's Court. Yesterday, we met one lady on the Harinam, an English lady. And she was from Chiswick, next door neighbor to Earl's Court. It's basically the same suburb. And that was my first ever book distribution. No, it wasn't. I went as a hippie. I would sometimes go on the street holding Back to Godhead magazine. Like this, like a newspaper salesman. We didn't have a clue what to say, just hold the magazine up. And so, I remember the first time I did that on Oxford Street with the Harinam party. I was a hippie, just visiting. And 3 people came and gave a donation. And that was the top distributor for the day. Top. I felt very chuffed. I thought, I'm really special. There must be something special about me. I'm the top book distributor. I was very humble about it. And then the first day I was sent out next morning, the next first service, going door to door in Earl's Court, First door, I was a bit nervous. I'd never done this in my life before. First door, and some guy came to the door. He only had his underpants on, nothing else. He looked really weird. He was probably gay, actually. I don't know. He looked really weird. Just looked. There's a kind of look, nothing. I'm not saying he was. But he was like shocked when he saw me at the door. I don't know what he was doing. And he was completely shocked. He looked at me as if I was a Martian. He'd obviously never seen a Hare Krishna before. He was completely shocked. And I was shocked too, looking. It was a mutual interaction there. So, what do you want? And I said, we're just showing these books, and what books we had? We only had big hardbound Krishna books, big ones. And there was only 2 volumes in those days. They were bigger than the 3-volume ones, 2 volumes. And I had these big, fat Krishna books, And that's all we had. We didn't have any other books at all. We had to try to sell those. None had been sold. I mean, they had a previous issue which they had sold, but we were a new bunch. We were all new group. The old devotees had all gone off to India. There was only new boys left in London then. Been in the movement a few months, 1 or 2 had been more than 6 months. That was it. And all the old devotees like Sham Sundar and all these devotees, they more or less all gone to India, And so the guy said, what is it? And he looked at it. He may have been on drugs or something. He was looking at the pictures, and I could see his eyes going like, those early pictures were pretty psychedelic, They were really, I don't know if the devotees were still suffering the effects of psychedelics, but they were pretty psychedelic paintings, I must say. Pretty far out, This guy was definitely captivated by the paintings, I said. And then he said, wow, how much is it? I said, I can't remember what I said, donation or what. He just gave me a $5 and took the book. That was a lot of money in those days. First door I knocked on, I thought, my God, this is so easy. Just knock on the door, they come out, they get mesmerized, and they give you money. This is the easiest thing I've ever done. That was the last book I distributed in 2 weeks. The one and only in 2 weeks. And no one else did any either. We were going here and there, 4 of us, and not a single book all day long between us, Not one. It's like, I got used to it after a while, and it's still like that with me. I go out on the street, and if I can do 1 book, it's like a big day. I just don't. Some people have got it, and some people, whatever it is, but that doesn't mean we don't do it. That Prabhupada's point is not the result, isn't it? It's the surrender. It's the acceptance of the spiritual master's will, Krishna's will. For those who are attached, whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. It's very difficult. We forgot to give the translation of Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, didn't we? Who knows the translation of that verse? Abhimanyu?
Completely satisfied. Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, satisfied in himself, doesn't lament, doesn't hanker, no such because he's friends of all living entities. Such a person worships me with devotion and devotion.
Yeah, something along those words. Something along those lines. When it comes to that level of spiritual Brahman, that level of Brahman who no longer hankers or laments and is equally disposed to all living entities, what does he do? At that stage, what do you do? He engaged in pure devotional service unto me. So this is another interesting feature. Okay, it's possible, as we've heard in this verse and purport today, that by the mercy of the Lord and the mercy of the devotees, that someone on different paths may eventually come to that platform of devotional service. But here we're talking of something else. We're talking of pure devotional service. Pure devotional service. And that really begins when one's on the platform of that spiritual platform, that Brahman platform. It doesn't mean that we come with Brahmavadis or Mayavadis or something. But every devotee should, one time, I don't have the reference, but we were always told this at Prabhupada was said, that if you haven't realized, your spirit soul yet, you haven't really begun devotional service. We're following, we're practicing. But spontaneous, it has to be with realization. Not just, that's there, and that's got to be there in the beginning. And that's absolutely required, it's foundational. But ultimately, it has to come to that platform of Brahman, the spiritual platform, not acting on the platform of conditional whatever condition we've got. Maybe we enjoy what we're doing, or we enjoy the results, or something like that, or we have great determination and faith, which is fantastic. But further than that, actual realization. When, oh when, will that day be mine? Kabhi habi bolo sedi namar aparada guchi shudanama ruchi. You know that song? Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Kabhi habi bolo sedi namar. Beautiful song. When, oh when, will that day be mine? Taste for the name increasing, offenses ceasing. Taste for the name increasing. When in my heart will your mercy shine? When, oh when, will that day be mine? Bhaktivinoda Thakur's offenses ceasing, all this nonsense, cleared from the heart, and then only an attraction for the holy name will really develop. When will that day be mine? You remember those translations of Achyutananda, that poetic? I always have on my PowerPoint. I use his. I don't dislike the new translations; they're more literal, but I like his poetic rendition of that song. It's so beautiful.
I asked him about that,
Huh?
You wrote that one very poetically. Why didn't you write the others that way?
That's funny. It's just that one song. Yeah, it was so nice.
I'm not a poet, so I didn't do anymore.
Yeah, but he did that one. It was so nice. Yeah. You can memorize it. You can't memorize all these other ones, Bhagavatam 11th Canto says that, Krishna's pastimes should be presented in song and poetry. Drama, song, poetry. This is how you remember them. It goes deep in our... I was in... Where was I in? In South Africa in the 90s, I remember. And I was doing drama after drama after drama. Every program had drama, spontaneous dramas. And it was Madhavendra Puri's appearance day, so we did Madhavendra Puri's. Nobody knew it was coming up, except for one devotee. I just asked him to get a few props here and there, ready, unknown to others. It was an amazing experience, I just, spontaneously on the spot, just engage everybody in the drama, And to this day, whenever those devotees meet me in India or anywhere, say, I'll never forget those pastimes of that drama we did in 30 years ago, It sticks in the heart, We took everybody through the whole thing. Everybody was a part of the drama, And you can do that here. You've got some bushes outside, You go through the whole thing. You have, the whole prasad, all the prasad for the feast, for the program was all offered to Gopal, on the hill. And the day, we had a day, I got this one devotee, I got him to bring his statue deity of Gopal. And he was hiding in the bushes at the back of the property. And we were all going, nobody knew what was going on until it happened. We're all going out there with sticks and things, trying to get through the thicket and to shop it. And then everyone's shocked. There's this Gopal deity in the bushes. And then trying to pick him up and making out he weighs 100,000 tons and something, this and that, Carrying him into the temple room again, into the hall where they were having the program. And then installing him and then getting two devotees, putting threads around them and making them. It's like a whole scene, It's like you live these things, it becomes real. It's not just something you, let's read about it in the Bhagavad, in the CC or something. It's great. But, it becomes a natural kind of remembrance in your heart. You've got an indelible remembrance in the heart. And this is how we can change the thought patterns in our heart. And drama, not these silly what do they call them?
Slapstick.
Huh?
Slapstick.
Kind of, stupid dramas. They're okay for, attracting, stupid people. But, it's not really, some kind of, crazy. But Leela should not be like that. The Leela should be what it is. Don't make joke of it. It should be what it is. Whether Krishna or Gaura Leela, should be what it is. And it's amazing how it has a powerful effect on people's lives and devotees' lives. Same thing with poetry. Same thing. Prabhupada appreciated properly presented dramas very much. Everything like that. Anyway, there's so much can be said about this verse. We have to get on. You've got to take breakfast. You've got to get out on Sankirtan. Actually, we should always be on Sankirtan, 24/7. It doesn't mean just being on the street, does it? What do you think, Siki? It's a state of consciousness, isn't it? That we see everything as Krishna's property and how to engage everything in Krishna's service. I'll just read one little quote, which I thought was a nice quote. I managed eventually to find it. It was mixed up. I've been trying to go through notes of like 20 years of notes the last week. The last 4 days on the plane, I spent 5-6 hours on the flight from London to Boston, just going through old notes and trying to categorize them and remove the 10 million duplications, which you tend to get on the computer. And, it's a big task, but just for cleaning up the computer and remembering things a little bit better. So one of the quotes I came across, we mentioned one of them yesterday. I'll read that now as it is, because I didn't have it yesterday, but I'll read it. This is what Prabhupada says. This is from Bombay in 1975. So the best policy to control the mind is to desire how to spread Krishna consciousness. This is the best. And it's a longer purport. I won't read it all. But at the end of the purport, it's a lecture actually. So this brain taxation, if you engage in Krishna's service, now we can understand this is not spontaneous devotional service at this stage. It's not raga bhakti. This is vaidhi bhakti. So this brain taxation, if you engage in Krishna's service, how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to convince people about Krishna, how to take them to Krishna's desire, sarva dharmam parityagya. And in this way, if you go on making plans for spreading Krishna consciousness, then your mind is controlled. So that's Prabhupada's quote. So there are many quotes on mind control, but that's one in relation to, you could say, let's get out of there, what we were discussing yesterday. Now we'll go to another. And this is more in terms of, here's a nice one. And this, I'll just leave this with you. This is 1968 in Los Angeles. That must be right in the beginning when Dayananda Prabhu was living in LA, and they're living in a garage, or they're serving in a temple in a garage. Prabhupada went in 68 from San Francisco to LA in the end of 68. And this is what he said in a lecture there. And this is early days, so bear it in mind, but the principle is still the same. If your aim is to engage him in Krishna consciousness, if you do something which is not very straight, that is allowed. Devotees laugh. You know what that means? Is that terminology understood? Something that's not very straight? Because you are doing very good to him. This is 68. This is not during the 70s. There was no book distribution in 68. None. Practically speaking, nothing. Maybe some magazines. Because you are doing very good to him. Suppose a man is a drunkard. So if you say, oh, all right, I'll give you a very... Oh, the drunkard. So suppose you say, I think probably means... Anyway, get the idea. I'll just read what's written here, but it doesn't make literal sense. Oh, all right, I'll give you a very nice bottle of whiskey at cheap price. Oh no, this is what it's amazing. Listen to this. I don't know if you can employ this one. I didn't read it rightly. So suppose if you say, all right, you're a devotee. All right, you meet a drunkard. I'll give you a very nice bottle of whiskey at a cheap price. Give me $15. We're putting some dangerous thoughts in these devotees' minds here. And if you take $15 and engage in Krishna consciousness, that cheating is allowed. And everyone laughed. Of course, Prabhupada's probably talking to people who are high on various kinds of intoxications at that time. Because that $15, otherwise he'll take it and drink anyway. So you have to, some way or another, take away that $15 and engage in Krishna consciousness so that you have done good for him. I remember one time in Paris, about 7 years, our first Christmas marathon, after I'd been involved in France, first one for maybe 20 years in France, and the last night we were in Champs-Élysées, if you ever heard of that. It's a big street packed with people. It's like Fifth Avenue of Paris, And on New Year's Eve is packed, mostly with Arabic people, packed. And we used to go, we don't go there now for various reasons. We went there on Sankirtan, Harinaman. I was trying to distribute a few books as well. And we were a very small time. And I remember this one drunkard came up. and he was dancing with us. And there were about 20, 30 of us doing kirtan. The drunkard came up. He put an unopened bottle of wine in front of us. Unopened, as a gift. He had some good fortune. Then he span off somewhere. A little while later, another drunkard joined in with the kirtan and spinning around. And I could see him looking at the bottle of wine. I think that was his attraction. He was getting very attracted. So I kind of said, we had a basket for donations. I said, you can have it if you put some money in the basket over there. And he did. He took all of his coins out, put it in the basket, and took the wine away. A little bit like this here. I didn't know about this quote at the time. Some devotees were scratching their heads, And I said, that was clever. Different devotees said different things, but it worked anyway. He got his wine. I can't remember. I think I gave him a little book as well on top of the wine. Can't remember, but I think I did. Like that, Prabhupada said. Some or other. Don't forget. I always think of this, and one of the things, I'm not the type of person it's very easy for me to ask money from people. I never did in my whole life. Money has always come to me. I never ask, usually. So on Sankirtan, you generally have to ask people. It's not very often people come up saying, can I give you this money? Can you give me a book, please? Not many times does that happen, does it? It does happen, but very rare. It happened last week in Paris. I was on the book table there in the center of Paris. And one black guy came up. I thought he was going to come up to try to pinch the money. You have a little donation. I thought he was going to pinch it. He said, if I give you this money, can you give me that book? I was surprised. He never asked a single question. Big black man. And he gave me a few euros and took the book. It doesn't usually happen like that, but sometimes. Usually you have to really, work hard to get people to give money, usually. Is it? Is it like that here? I don't know. Certainly like that in Europe. That's the hardest part usually. It's hard enough to get them to stop. It's hard enough to get them to hold the book or to even show any appreciation for it. In France, the first thing they say is free, isn't it? Free. You're giving me free. That's the first thing they say. And you have to say something to try to follow up on that one. And then when the money comes to it, I've got no money. No money. They all say that, no money. First they say non merci. That means no thank you. Non merci. No mercy. I don't want the mercy. No, go away. No mercy, please. And then they say non argent. No money. No money. No money. No money. Sometimes they say, if you got I don't have a card. I don't have a card. You get the machine. No. And then they go away again. They're not interested either, even if you've got a card machine. What to do? They're a little bit more reciprocal here, I say, much more reciprocal. Couldn't believe it yesterday. What washing you do the books. Amazing. Hare Krishna. So have a great day on book distribution, and don't worry, just try to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. Desire his spirit and be an instrument for the will of the Lord. That's all. Sometimes Krishna helps us to get off the bodily platform of thinking I'm the doer, which comes to the mind of even the most seasoned book distributors sometimes. We start thinking we're doing well, I'm good, I'm whatever. Sometimes those thoughts come in. The false ego comes in. And then, if you're lucky, Krishna will, help to deflate that false ego. I don't know if that happens here, but you sometimes go hours and hours then with not even a magazine going out, what to speak of. You can't even give it away. They won't even take, they take the magazine, rip it up or something. Or at last you find a person you think is interested. 20 minutes later, have you heard of Lord Jesus? Oh God, Krishna! Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Brihat Madanga ki jai. Hare Krishna. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. And maybe you need. You okay getting up there? You got your stick. You got 3 legs. Now you got 3 legs. Take a book. Take a book with your hook. With a hook, you take a book with a hook. By hook or by crook, take a book. Those old days. Haribol. Jai.
See you so long. Balabrata is waiting for you too. When did you arrive? Ah, you're still going. Figured, so the jet lag kicks in. He's coming from Europe.